thanks so much indeed for your time. Secret Israeli military bases, do we know of any?
We don't know of any. I mean, it's not improbable that the Israelis have operatives in northern Iraq, particularly aligned with the Kurds. But secret military bases, I think, is going one step too far.
What's the American presence in Iraq? I mean, clearly a consulate is a diplomatic facility, but there have been some people who are saying that there should be no Americans in Iraq. That clearly doesn't apply to diplomats, that it's time Washington pulled everybody out of the country.
Well, the Americans have obviously withdrawn combat troops. They do have a number of advisors, maybe up to 2,500, if I recall correctly, and there are parties of the body politic in Iraq. And of course, the Iranians would like to see all military personnel, whether combat or not, withdrawn from Iraq. The question is why, if these if these missiles were launched from Iraq, from Iran, the question is why were they launched? And I would suspect that this has much more to do with the Vienna nuclear talks than it has to do with secret Israeli military bases or whatever.
Has it got anything to do with the makeup of the new-ish Iraqi parliament? Because the biggest party there, Muqtada al-Sadr's party, is definitely not pro-Iran.
It could have something to do with that. But I think if one looks at the timing, it's more likely to be, on the one hand, a response to Israeli attacks on Iranian targets in Syria, as well as to the way the Vienna talks are going.
Has Iran's influence in Iraqi politics, I mean, if this is kind of almost a fallout from the talks that are taking place in Vienna, but in terms of Iran's influence in Iraq, has that diminished at all over the past 12 months or so? And I say 12 months because it was about a year ago that I spoke to an Iraqi politician who said, look, we don't mistrust Iran, but we do mistrust the Americans.
Well, I think we've been seeing this process go on since actually 2019. The elections in which non-pro-Iranian Shiite groups seemingly got a majority is one indication of that. Keep in mind that the mass anti-government protests that you had in 2019, 2020 had a very strong anti-sectarian, anti-Iranian bend to them, or at least one part of it. And it was also pro-Iranian groups and militias that at times attacked the demonstrators. So I think that that loss of influence or reduced influence is something that we've been watching for now 2 to 3 years.
James, thank you as always. James Dorsey in Singapore.